Howdy folks, and welcome into Tisbury 33 Games. I'm Cody Shalford. Today we'll be discussing my wish list for franchise mode in MLB The Show 25. Now, I know the game's probably close to done, if not done already. We still haven't heard any news about the game as of me recording this. That could change by the time I finish uploading it, editing it, and all that fun stuff. But as of right now, we know really nothing about the game. For the most part, this game has been pretty cookie cutter. This is what it was last year. Not much has changed year to year. However, we're hopeful as sports gamers, as loser sports gamers like myself, who only play against the computer by themselves in a room. This is my favorite mode. This is my favorite game. I would love to see some attention put into the game this year. But before we get started on the list, first, like, subscribe, comment. We will be doing a lot of MLB The Show 25 this year. If you are new to the channel, I have a whole MLB 24 The Show playlist where I took the Colorado Rockies and made them kind of a powerhouse at this point. About 90 plus episodes deep. So if you are itching for some MLB The Show content and you don't really want to wait another 2 months for the game to be out and you've just looking for something new, definitely go ahead and check that out. We have a whole bunch of stuff. It's a realistic rebuild, things like that. Also, we're doing Red Sox in 25. I'm a big Red Sox guy. I'm from Massachusetts. They're easily my favorite sports team in my favorite sport. We'll be doing a Red Sox franchise and it'll be the show 25. Before we get started like, subscribe if you're excited for that. Also, sorry for the lighting. We haven't put curtains in here yet. We're just rolling with it. Also, before we get started and talking about what I want to see in the game, let's just talk about the game as it is right now. I'm a big believer that these games are very hard to make. However, these are multi-billion dollar studios sometimes. And there are some things in the game that's kind of a little unacceptable that they're still there. However, this game does some good stuff. For my money, it is the only sports game that you can grab out of the box, not put any sliders, not do any adjustments, just put it on the difficulty of your choice, and you can play the game from day one till the end of the cycle. Madden, you need 9 million sliders. 2K, you need 700,000 sliders. College Football 25, while better than those two, you still needed a little tweaking to make that game really fun. MLB The Show, maybe other than like the trade slider, you could really, realistically, and there are slider sets that make the game a little bit better, but for my money, easily the best sports game out of the box. Again, I'm also a guy that, I'm a franchise guy. I don't do a whole bunch of online stuff, so all that online stuff, it doesn't really affect me too much. So the gameplay for me, I think it's perfect. I think it's fine. So yeah, this game does a lot of really good things. They've implemented a couple of things over the last few years that have enhanced the game, like the scouting feature. They've added some more presentation stuff that makes the game really fun. They've added the prospect list as a little thing. The player card, they've added some stuff. But there's still a ways to go. This video will be broken up into 3 parts. Part 1, which we'll do right next, just small changes, kind of a rapid fire list. I won't go too far into those. This is going to be a long video most likely, so buckle up, get your popcorn, all that fun stuff. Small changes / little things in the game that can be enhanced. Then we have big changes, complete revamps of existing features, and new features at the end. So there will most likely be timestamps below if there's a certain aspect that you want to see if I talk about, or you really want to pinpoint on 1 or 2 points. Go ahead, skip around, do all that stuff. Leave in the comment below what your favorite suggestion that I made here was, and also what would you do if you could do a wish list of the top 3 things to put MLB The Show 25. So without further ado, let's move on to small changes that it have to the game. So rapid fire list. This would be like 2 seconds. Just equipment. Put all the equipment that players wear in the games. Let's miximize things. Fun stuff such as pant length. You see guys come up with like the pant, you have the Jeter straps right there, but they like pull it up. That's pretty cool. Pocket flaps, things like they take the back pocket out. That's pretty cool. That's something that just adds a little more flavor. I don't think it's too big. Regular pink is an option for most equipment. As a guy who does a lot of editing equipment, you notice little things like that. Team color option for fielding gloves. The little small hand guards while they're batting, as well as fixing when generated players come in. They have the long sleeve instead of just the shooter sleeve or the tight compression sleeve. Give them compression sleeves out of the box. So let me go in there, change it because they look like idiots. Also, why do the Nike sleeves need the white stripe on them? Most of them don't have that in real life anymore. And also put the numbers on the sleeves. Like there are, a guy like Alex Bregman, a guy like Xander Bogaerts. Those guys have like their jersey number on like the wrist of the sleeve. Things like that. Add that in. Secondary positions. I should be able to add any secondary position I want to anybody. I shouldn't have to be, I have to make this guy a shortstop to then give him outfield flexibility, because if I make him a center fielder, I can't have him play the outfield and shortstop. Just let me make any player, let me make everybody utility guy if I want to. Don't hamper me, or like there are guys in the game that can do that, but if you get a generated player, unless they come with that pre-built into them, and if you change anything and mess up just let me put secondary position on everything. Name variation. I still see a lot of guys get drafted out of Pennsylvania named Ricardo Rincon, but then I see a lot of guys out of Mexico named Dave Betts. It's just something little, but like just switch it up. Also, all the audio in the game, they've done a very, very, very good job at some of the more obscure names, especially in the lower minors and things like that. Bouchambi and Chris Singleton and the team there that does all the broadcast stuff, they've added that audio into the game. You should also be able to use that audio when you're creating a player. For example, I had a character that I used, his name was Jeter, and Jeter Downs in the game, they say Jeter Downs, but I can't have an audio. If I call the guy Jeter, it won't show the audio for that. That's silly. All the names that they're able to pronounce and have in the game should be A, in the player pool for the auto-generated, and be able to be set. And the last little small change, fix, edit stuff, maybe just update the player cards, add things like postseason stats, keep the minor league stats year to year. That would be pretty cool. Also, scouting. This one's going to be a little bit more talkative. I think it's in a really good spot. I think what scouting is over the last couple of years that they changed it versus what it was a couple of years ago, night and day difference. Awesome. However, there's still some things that I'd like to see tweaked a bit. Still needed tuning on the player age potential gaps. I still see a lot. Like makes no sense to draft the college guy, really. A lot of the college guys come in at low overalls, and a lot of the high school guys come in more prepared than the college guys, from what I've seen. Obviously, different examples of the rule. It's not like every single college guy is whatever. For the most part, most of the high school guys are coming in more ready than the college guys, which I would like to see that flipped a little bit. Make generational college prospects. All the generational prospects that come in at like an 80 overall, 99 potential, they're all high school kids. And I understand the direction they were taking with that, but Paul Skeens exists. We've seen generational college guys get drafted, go to the show, and then just rake their whole 15, 20-year career. Make them the potential to be generational too. I don't think generational needs to be just an 18-year-old international free agent or anything like that. I would love to see more highly touted guys bust, lower guys rise. There's still, you can really game this system and get a lot of high potential guys late in this draft. I still think that I would like to see more high overall C potential guys than what I see now. I just think it adds more. It's baseball, man. This game is so tricky, and we're going to be talking about potential and all that a little bit later, and how I think we could revamp that. But I think that would be a really nice touch to add. And then also custom draft classes and shareable draft classes. Every other game does it. There's no excuse for you not to. That would add so much life into the game, being able to download other people's prospects from real life. Obviously, there's a big focus of the draft the last couple of years when getting the rights with minor leagues becoming a union and being able to get those rights. As soon as guys get drafted, we see, they throw the cards out there in Diamond Dynasty, and you're able to use those guys in franchise mode and stuff. So just be able to do a custom draft class where someone else makes the next 3 years of draft class. You can use that, keep that realism, and then you can also make your own draft class, whether it be real, whether it be fake, all that fun stuff. I think that's cool. Everyone else does it, and I don't know why you can't do it. All right, next thing. A, fix the camera. That was bothering me before. 2, don't mind the mess over there. Again, we're still moving and we're still moving stuff around. But anyway, next is the big changes and complete revamps of existing features. These will be a little bit more lengthy, a little bit more juicy. So this is kind of the bulk of the video. Already like 10 minutes in. Love that. First thing I would like to see is training. Does it do anything? I don't know what the math is. I haven't really seen. When you do the training in MLB The Show, you select a certain set of attributes you want to see progress. There are some attributes that don't really progress. Like a pitcher's stamina really never goes up. A guy's speed really never goes up, which I get that, especially the speed part. Like it's really hard to get more athletic. It's not impossible to get a little bit more, but for the most part, that's determined before you even pick up a baseball bat. That's a genetics thing. So what does the training really do? I don't really know what the values are. If you put training into X guy, it's guaranteed to go up this amount. I really don't know. So I would love for that training to kind of show you more of progression, or even have it be like a chance. Like I know in Out of the Park Baseball, which I'll be referencing a lot of times in this video, they have an off-season training program where it works sometimes, and then other times it doesn't work. Sometimes you get real big results, and you have a guy that you're looking as like maybe a backup middle infielder. Now all of a sudden he's pushing to be your starting second baseman. And that's a decision you have to make, right? Give us more decisions to make is really going to be the overall theme of this video. So just do that. I think that would be fun. Allow for more training options. Learn specific positions. We see this all the time. Where guys come into spring training, maybe that's a position jam, maybe they're a corner outfield, and this team has, for example, the Red Sox. They have 95 outfielders coming into this year. Maybe they train one to be a second baseman. Maybe they trade one to be a first baseman. We've seen guys like Hanley Ramirez learn new positions. It's not a new thing in baseball. And in the game, you're able to change positions like willy-nilly. And, sometimes overalls go up and down, but like if you're a 99 fielder in center field, I'd switch you to first base. You still have 99 fielding. But being able to learn a secondary position just naturally, I think would be really, really fun, and able to add secondaries and make guys more versatile to get them in, especially once you're kind of into a franchise a little bit, you have a really, really good roster, you're still drafting really well, and you have these high-level guys coming up. You need to find spots for them. So being able to give them secondaries that help fit your team, able to get them at bats, able to get them innings or whatever it be. And I think that's just a really cool way to use training. Also, show a screen at the end that just kind of shows what training did. Again, like I said, I don't really know what it does, how much training affected each attribute. So just having a screen at the end of the year like, here's what training did for you, I think would be great. Add and revamp quirks in training. If you notice in the player screen, which I usually used more for Diamond Dynasty, but there are some players that have player quirks, and a lot of them are like attribute based. Like I know there's one that's like excels at hitting the baseball because they have like 85 plus contact somewhere. Which like I don't know if that does anything. There are some specific ones that's like, hey, like he hits curveballs outside the zone a lot better. For what I've noticed and what I've seen, other than those like attribute-based ones where it just shows a quirk because you have a specific attribute in a specific range, generic players or generated players don't really get those extra perks. They don't get outlier. They don't get the breaking ball quirk. They don't get the dead red quirk. Be able to use that. Maybe have them get drafted with that. That could be probably in my scouting thing. But also, like, be able to develop that. Like, hey, I want this guy to be a fastball hitting machine. See if I can get him that quirk this year. And then he hits fastballs better because he has that quirk. I think that would be really cool to add for training. I would love to see this feature that's been in the game forever get revamped. Next up is trades. Still needs a lot done to it. Really, in this game, I play with it on a slider of 1. So for the most part, no teams make trades. You're still seeing like Bobby Witt Jr. for Adley Rutschman trades, which like I guess value for value makes sense, but also like it doesn't that wouldn't happen. You still see a lot of high profile guys go to teams, and teams that are in a dumpster fire go and try to add at the deadline, and teams that are really good pushing for World Series trade guy for prospects that would help them win, and now all of a sudden they're losing in the division and whatnot. Still needs a lot of trade logic, and I feel like this will never quite get right in sports games. So give us 2K's ability to just approve and deny trades. You take the logic out of it. Sure, it would still need to be improved, and it would be annoying just denying trades left and right all the time. But in 2K, they have a feature that if a trade happens, it pops a screen like, hey, this team's trading this package to this team for this package. Would you like to veto it, approve it, or take a second? And if you take a second and go in, you kind of look at both teams. Does this make sense? I do it all the time when I play 2K. It's very fun. It's very cool. I think that would make this game so much better. And yeah, so you'll see some dumb trades in sports video games, but you'll be able to yourself decide whether you want that. Some guys, I play a realistic dynasty. That's my favorite time to do it. That's why I kind of eliminate trades, because I'll sometimes give up more to the computer just because I can, because it makes sense in real life, even though I can probably squeeze them and get the most value out of things. I'm not trying to let the league get ruined because of one stupid trade. Give us the ability to quickly toggle which team we are so we can make those trades ourselves. Also in 2K, you are able to easily go in there, switch teams, make a trade. I had a My League from the My Eras, started in 83. Every trade deadline, I'd go in, make trades around the league. I'm in like 2015 now. I'm such a loser. But it's been mad fun to do that and make your own blockbuster trades. Also in my notes here, huge contracts get traded, contenders trade huge pieces, non-contenders, whatever. You're able to make that deadline great again. An Oakland Athletics team that's on the last year of a good starting pitcher, and they're still bad because they're the Athletics now. Fucking losers. Anyway, you're able to trade that to a contending team, give them pieces. Yeah, I think that would be just like sometimes these games, and I don't want to let them off the hook, but just let us do it ourselves. Like, just give us the opportunity to do it ourselves, because clearly you can't help us sometimes, and this is one of those opportunities here. More than 3 players in a trade, that just seems super, like every other sports game does that. And let us use more than 2 teams in a trade. Every other game does that. 3 players, 2 team trades. That was 2008 sports games. Just get with it. Give us 6+ slots. Let us trade with 3 teams, even though that's not too common in baseball. Still a thing. Even the 2 teams, fine, but just give us more player slots to trade. It makes trading for high-level players. Again, you also get into that situation where I think we see this, where, a team like the Chicago White Sox, right? Not good. Luis Robert is probably going to get traded. But no team can put 3 prospects together that match his value, so he wastes his time there and then goes into free agency. Give us more players to trade. Next up, big one, progression and regression. Sliders. Give us sliders. If you're not going to do it, let us do it ourselves. Madden, over the last couple of years, have added progression and regression sliders by position. Super cool. I don't give Madden a lot of credit. They're going to get a lot of credit in this department here right now. We're going to see a lot of footage from Madden here coming in and out. 2K does it as well. Look, man, I hate seeing Ronald Acuna Jr. at 31 years old or 30 years old tank 8 overall because he hit 10 years of service time. Or a guy like, Mookie Betts, who is going to age gracefully. And I think this one's a little bit, I think I've been a little bit, but have like a 40 home run, 350 batting average season and dive 9 points just because he's 36. I think like there needs to be a little bit more balance there. Let us progress and regress. Let us choose a slider. Someone in the community will do it. Regression and progression should have slider sets. Another one is the actual potential system, which I'm going to loop in here. Make it like Madden instead of a number. The potential number is cool. I understand the caps. I understand it can go up and it can go down. And I love MLB The Show's progression is way more fluid. Like if a guy's hitting 480 against righties in a year, he's going to get a big boost to right-handed, contact. I don't think many other sports games do that. And that's what I applaud about them, is how their ratings kind of work and how gameplay actually affects that. However, I think it could have more of an impact if you get rid of the potential number. I have guys that are A potential and they suck and they can't hit in double A, but they keep going up and up and up because they're A potential. Eventually the ratings get to a point where, yeah, they might be 27. They've been in the minor leagues for 6 years, but now they're going to be a perennial all-star. And like that's happened before. I don't want to completely kill that archetype of player. However, it's not as common as this game makes it seem to be. It makes no sense not to sign a guy to a long-term extension with A potential, even if he is hasn't played well and hasn't earned that contract. Eventually, the ratings are still going to go up and get to where they need to be, and you're going to have a really, really good player in your hands. I would love for the progression system, instead of being potential number, and also on the flip side, deep potential guys who rake rarely ever get on your team. And I know you need guys like that in your roster, but I'd love for the play to really dictate. We've seen guys be low-level prospects and they just play their way into being really good players or really serviceable players. Not even really good players, but just a guy on the bench. Again, give us decisions to make. Do we stick with the guy who we drafted in the second round, who we thought was going to be really good but hasn't really shown it? Or do we go with the guy we drafted in the 5th round, who originally were he's going to be a depth outfielder, but he just continued to hit and hit and hit and hit and hit. And now those two guys, it's a decision to make. Give us decisions. This is a baseball game. Decisions are the name of the game. You should, instead of having the potential number, give them a development. In Madden, they have normal development, star development, superstar development, and then the X Factor development. In 2K, I know they have the badges, there's a couple badges where they'll be on screen that impact development, but give this, because this affects rate progression. In Madden, you get a guy who's 75 overall. You have 4 guys for 75 overall. All 3 of them have different developments, right? If they all have the same exact stats, the normal guy will go up a little bit, the star guy will go up more than him, superstar guy more than that one, so on and so forth. I think that's the best way to do it. Or you can have a plethora of starting overalls and really diverse and mix it up. However, it's that development trait that really, really gets you going. You can have a guy who's a 79 overall, out of the box, really cool, normal development. That guy can still become a really good player. However, you probably would rather have the 72 overall guy with superstar development, because he has probably more likely chance to hit those numbers. Also, you can have the development that you want, but if you're not hitting your numbers, you're not getting the skill points to then add to a guy to really get a benefit out of it. You still have to perform, and you still have to go and do tasks, and you still have to get rewarded and punished for these performances. I think this gives us the better way. It gives more leeway to those high dev players, right? And still has a harder road for those lower dev players. So again, you get a 62 overall normal dev guy. He most likely will just be a depth outfielder in your organization. However, there is a chance if he's doing well, he's hitting over 300 every season, maybe a couple home runs, stealing a bunch of bases, getting these skill points you can add to the player. Or not even skill points. Just make this how the internal game determines what goes up and goes down. Go up exponentially, or depending on the development stage. Excuse me on that. Probably saw 3 different cuts because I'm an idiot. That affects how likely this player is to get good. So I just think that just puts a whole another spin on it. I think that's really good, and have the ability to rise and fall in dev traits. I know that MLB The Show, their rating system is over a 3-year period, where the ratings are kind of dissected over the last 3 years of performance with a more heavy weight to the closer years to the game's release. So do that. If a minor league guy goes out there, maybe add minor league awards, and he won the minor league MVP 2 years out of 3, his normal dev might jump to a star or a superstar. And now all of a sudden, a guy like Christian Campbell, right, from my Red Sox, played at Georgia Tech, didn't really have had tools, but everyone's like, this is going to be a hit or miss guy. Comes to the Red Sox, they make one adjustment, all of a sudden he's the 3rd best prospect in baseball if you take Roki Sasaki out of it. 4th, 3rd, top 5 in all the publications. Got Gerwin Anthony, also a guy who's like, raw outfielder, but then just absolutely crushes it, and now he is bolted up draft boards. Also have that development work higher for the younger you are. So it does kind of give an incentive to get high school guys. Maybe they have a lower chance of being a star or superstar. So it really feels like you hit when you hit. There's a couple things they can go with that. That's just kind of my thoughts on it. I think bringing the Madden system over here, unless there's some legal issue where they can't because it's a certain feature that EA holds rights to. If that's not the case, there's no reason for you not to do something like this. Team creation and rebranding. They do have an option for you to rebrand or create teams in the beginning of a save file, and then the team you choose, you are able to rebrand that team in the offseason. However, it's a bitch, dude. It is so hard. Instead of giving you the full team, so 2K, you can go on there, build a team or look up a team, and they have a whole bunch of presets. People made jerseys, made rosters, made stadiums, made courts. It's all there. You can just say, I want this guy, boop, right in the game. Boom, you're done. MLB The Show, you have to go in, you have to search up a guy or a girl or a they or a them or whoever made whatever set, and they have preset items. So like the logo, you have to go download the logo. Then you have to go download the alternate logo and all the logos and the stadium. And then you have to piece it together yourself. It takes too long. And you never really know what you're finding. You have people that like their PSN switch or their Xbox ID or whatever, that the gamer tag, whatever the Xbox people call it, or the Switch people. I don't know. I play PlayStation. It's just too much. And there's only certain times you can do it, and for the most part, it's limited to what you can do. Just open that up. You have such a fun community that makes rosters all the time. The stadium creator is hopping every year. Open this up to full teams, and instead of they do open up to the logo vault, they call it, just make it a team vault. And be able to, hey, this guy remade the old school Marlins. I should be able to just boop, and now the old school Marlins are in the game. And then also, I should be able to, before when I talk about the trades, be able to toggle between teams at any point and then detoggle it like 2K does. Do the same thing for this. And I'm able to do this in 2K as well as, hey, I want again, my eras. I did not let the Supersonics go to OKC. So I declined that. But a few years later, those jerseys are outdated. People have made Sonics jerseys. They can go in and revamp the Sonics jerseys. Vancouver Grizzlies jerseys, or whatever team you want. You can quickly take a team, rebrand them, and then take them off. And then, boom, the computer still handles everything, but you have a new team. It's a breath of fresh air in the game. Also makes the community that more powerful. I doubt there are people that sit there and fiddle with that feature too much, because I know I don't, because it's just so tedious. Just make it a little bit better. All right, CPU roster management. Now, this is a big one. This is a lot of stuff that it's been getting tweaked, it's been getting fixed, it's getting there, but we're still right behind the 8 ball here. Still need to do better at calling up prospects. They have done a better job at jumping prospects up, maybe adding a tag system to the quirks. Like in Madden, there's for the quarterbacks, right? There's the future quarterback tag, there's the bridge quarterback tag, day one starter tag. You draft a really good quarterback, he's most likely going to have the future quarterback and day one starter. No matter what quarterback on your roster, the computer puts them up because they invested a high draft pick in them. Or a developing quarterback that's marginally worse than like a guy that you have, like an Andy Dalton. They're going to start the young guy because the reps are important. Adding something like that to a team that, hey, they have an outfield prospect who's really, 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 really good. He's 2 overall behind an okay left fielder. Bump that guy up. Okay, outfielder's not going to help you. You want the development for the guy. So maybe adding that could help. Add the 5-10 rule. So in Major League Baseball, if you're with a team for 5 years and if it occurred a service time in the major leagues of 10 years, they add a no trade clause to you. I think that's fun. I think that adds, an element of team building, especially if you're, jumping on to build a team that has, a really tough contract on it. I'm thinking maybe years past Miguel Cabrera's contract, right? He was a 5-10 guy. He had a bulky contract. That's easy to go, hey, I'm trading this guy for like a deep potential prospect. Now I've just cleared up $80 million over the next couple of years. You're not allowed to do that. Also, those guys refuse demotions. I believe it's 4 years. I'm not 100% sure on that. But once a player hits a certain amount of service time, they can refuse getting demoted. This means that no older stars are in the minors on the last years of their contract. How many times have you gone to a season a few times and Mookie Betts at a 72 overall because he's 38 years old and now playing in Double or Triple A? That wouldn't happen in real life because he's able to refuse the demotion. And that lets the Dodgers off the hook on his money, and that lets them continue to be good. If you're going to give out these big contracts, you're going to reap the benefits early, but then you're going to sow at the end of it. And this game doesn't, allows you to just drop anybody you want. Add that. This adds to the game. Adds for at least my parts of the game. Just the trade logic. If you have a lot of middle infielders, no pitching, make a trade. If you have a lot of pitching and no outfielders, go make a trade. Make a trade that makes sense. And again, that kind of jumps into the trade logic. But again, the roster management can sometimes be tricky. Signing players from positions already established. In my Rockies franchise, I might have touched on a little bit. The Baltimore Orioles obviously have Adley Rutschman and Samuel Basallo, who is another one of the top 10 prospects in the league right now. That's a crazy catching tandem. They also went out there and added Jonah Heim. And Jonah Heim had with the roster that usually I'll go through. If teams do that, I'll go in every offseason and move guys around and make the roster fit a little bit better around the league just because. It was impossible to do that with them. And I was like, all right, they're just going to have 3 catchers taking up a lot of money. And now Adley Rutschman leaves because they already have money established at the catcher position where they didn't need to do that before. So just make the free agent signings a little bit better. I've been going in the offseason before free agency happens, moving guys around, and then letting the teams do it still. It helped a little bit, but not a whole bunch, and so I would love to see that. Bigger emphasis on long-term deals for younger guys. I've actually noticed this year that I've seen it a couple times. I think Yuri Perez get a long-term deal for the Marlins, and Josh Young, off the top of my head, are 2 that I noticed. That's something I never noticed before. Make that more of a staple. We've seen the Atlanta Braves do that. It's kind of becoming more of a real thing. Jackson Chourio got a big deal. Guys like Bobby Witt. Guys like Julio Rodriguez got those really fun deals, which we'll be talking about that in a minute. But bigger emphasis of those teams doing something like that, keeping those young talents around the league. It shouldn't happen all the time. We still need guys in free agency. But those real true blue guys, for the most part, they try to get a contract done. And then contract control. There is a lot of fun lingo and fun avenues to build a contract in Major League Baseball and sports in general. Very bare bones in this game. You can front load, back load a contract, give out years and money that equals up to $40 million a year, and then you can give an option. That's about it. In real Major League Baseball, they have opt-outs, multiple options throughout the deal. They have escalators. They break the contract down so you get $24 million for 2 years, $30 million for 6, and then $15 for the last 3 of a big contract. They're able to put the money, that would just be so cool to add to this game. Out of the park baseball allows you to do that. They have incentives so you can hit. Vesting options. There's so much you can do with a contract in Major League Baseball that you can make it economically friendly. I think everyone talks about these big mega deals and blah, 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 they're ruining the game, blah, blah, they're so weird, no one would ever sign them. Give that option to kind of move it around to your liking, and I think it adds so much to the game. Like I said, be able to go with however much money you want. We just saw Juan Soto make $700 million. 760, almost basically $800 million over 15 years. You can't do that in MLB The Show. I think the highest you can go is $450, if I'm correct. But yeah, just let us do whatever the fuck we want. Structure the contract. Instead of front load, back load, do, like we said, like Fran Tatis Jr., he had like escalated up as he got better. There are options in case he sucked. Bobby Witt Jr. has that. Like Julio Rodriguez, basically his contract's like 13 years, 213 or something like that. But it can be $400 million if they keep all the options and he hits incentive bonuses. We just saw a guy like Jarren Duran in his arbitration deal. He settled for, I think, $385 or $375 in year one, and then the second year has an option that can be as much as $12 million, depending on how he finishes in MVP voting, how he does, within like certain plate appearances and certain stat thresholds. That would be really cool. Do I expect that to come in at least fully like that? No, but we see it so much. We see it, so much in this game. Add that. That'd be pretty cool. Last up on the computer roster management is better lineup and DH logic. I've seen too many guys just be in weird places in the lineup. Too many guys. You'll see JD Martinez, because he's the highest rated left fielder, be in left field, and he has like 40 fielding. But you have a guy who has like 80 fielding, but isn't as good as a left fielder, be the DH. Makes no sense. Maybe add a DH tag or a cork or something. Guys with under 50 fielding or 55 fielding get the DH tag, so if they can play DH in a lineup, they go there. Just adds more, realism. And like, you have a guy with liability in the field. He gets the ball hit to him 4 times. It's probably 2 extra runs than you should have. And he should be DHing. So that's the rest of that. And then pitching rotation management. I think I originally had this as a small one, but I wanted to add it into existing features. Let's make this better. I think it's fine as it is, but there's still a logic bug, which I think the thing is, MLB Show, obviously there was a 25-man roster a few years ago. It just moved to 26. I think now like 10 years ago now, but they still haven't fixed the bullpen logic to account and accrue for that extra guy in the bullpen. They just kind of have the same bullpen logic from MLB 09 The Show that plays here. So you'll always see a guy get like 2 innings if you play a whole season, and your low relief guy will get like 200, like more innings than your starting pitcher sometimes. That needs to change. And there's a way to do that is set roles for bullpen pieces. Be able to manage who is getting innings, who's getting in where. We see guys, setup guys getting 3 innings this season, like I said, and low relief guys getting 160. Have low leverage like tags, high leverage, handedness matchups, cleanup duty, etc. Like, again, in my Rockies franchise, I had so many good starting pitchers. I had a couple starting pitchers in the bullpen. Oftentimes, like, they're not as good as the relievers, but they would come in first just because they were the low relief guy, and it was like the 5th inning. And it's like, all right, they have so much stamina, they're going to pitch till the 8th, and it just makes no sense. And then you do that multiple times over the simulation, and you have a guy that's throwing 180 innings out of the bullpen. It just doesn't happen. You have guys that do have spot starts and things like that, but be able to add leverage, especially in the playoffs. Have guys that add that leverage because it is the playoffs. And now, unless it's a blowout, you're not going to see certain guys, and you're going to see a lot of guys use a lot more. I just think that would just help so much in kind of curating how you want your bullpen to go. Also, you'll set up different rotation types. 6-man, 4-man, scheduled bullpen days. I mean, you're able to have X amount of guys in the rotation just by putting them there, and they'll let you go with a 4-man. But you can't use a 6-man unless you manually do that by yourself all the time. You can't do a bullpen day unless you manually do that all the time. And also other teams. In the playoffs, teams usually make a 4, sometimes 3-man rotation. These teams are always going 5. And you're I've always go 4. So I always have the pitching matchup once we get like 2 games into the series or something like that. So be able to just revamp that pitching. A lot of people say that this is like the biggest gripe they have with the game. Just revamp that, and I think you're in a really, really good place. lastly, but not leastly, we have the new features I would like to have in the game. So this first one I'm going to be talking about is a little bit the same as that, adding additional positions doing training, have individual defensive position ratings. Now, Out of the Park Baseball does this, where especially utility guys, talk about a guy like Kike Hernandez, who played for the Red Sox for a couple of years. Excellent center fielder. When he did play shortstop, oh God, was he a bad shortstop. However, in the game, he has good fielding ratings. You put him all over the place. He has basically the same fielding rating everywhere. Now, in the show, I think, depending on the player, they drop ratings when they're playing secondaries. I think it's 5 dropped ratings fielding-wise. If they're playing a secondary, if they're playing out of position, I think it's dropped 20, which, that's cool. However, jazz it up. If you have a guy that's, it makes utility men more intriguing. You have a utility guy who's like a 77 shortstop, a 90 in left field, a 75 at second base, and a 60 at first base. Like, yeah, you can play him at first base, but you'd probably rather try to put him in the outfield or the middle infield. It just adds to it. It adds, like, a guy like Vlad Guerrero Jr., yeah, he can play first and third, but you don't want him at third base. It also kind of lets teams off the hook by just giving them like a guy with a decent fielding can go anywhere. I think this would be super, super fun. We see this all the time. Like, certain players can play positions, but they're definitely not as good as others. Allows players to build fielding attributes the more they play. So maybe when you create a new position, they start at like a 50 fielding. Sure. The more innings they get at a position, the better they become at it. And maybe there's certain thresholds like +1 fielding for 10 innings, and then +2 fielding for like 35 innings, and then +5 fielding if they play 100 innings at a position when they're learning a new one. And then maybe that's only good for the first year. So you kind of want to play them there for a year or two, or spring training gives them like a double boost or something like that. I think that'd be cool. And then everyone has 40 fielding every position. Yeah, so that's why I just said that. So I think that'd be super cool to add. I doubt that does. It's not like a huge feature that I want. I just think it'd be really cool. One feature that I definitely want, international signings. So the first one, which I believe would be the most important to add, is a posting system. And it's the perfect time to do it. Japanese players, and which is the posting system usually happens for, they've never been more in vogue, right? Shohei's the best player to ever play baseball. Ichiro just got in the Hall of Fame. We just had back-to-back seasons where the Dodgers poaching the best Japanese pitcher, one getting $325 million. The other one probably could have got that if he waited 2 more years. Like, you also have guys like Yu Darvish, Masahiro Tanaka, Daisuke Matsuzaka, Ichiro, Seiya Suzuki, Kodai Senga from a couple years ago, Masataka Yoshida. The Japanese posting system is huge in baseball. We see 2 or 3 guys come over every year, and every so often we see a megastar come over. Add this to the game. You have guys like Murakami coming soon, and others on their way. Add this to the game. And you can just do this in the free agency. When you're scrolling by positions, maybe add a posting spot. And then, yeah, you don't have to put a 99 guy in there every year. But every so often, have a guy that's like mad good. And be like, oh man, like I had no clue this guy was even coming over. We usually, unless you're like a true blue baseball sicko, you don't hear about these guys until it's time to go get them. Like, these guys are years and years down the road. You never know when, where, who. Add this to the game. I think it'd be very, very fun. And it just makes free agency even more fun. It adds more flavor to the league. I just think it'd be super cool. Something that they could do, I think with the drafting being the way it is, it's not necessary, but international signing periods. International period with random generated signings can be the same screen as scouting, happens after the draft. Originally, I had the thought that like you can either choose to scout prospects or scout international guys. You get the pool, and then depending on what you do, you have X amount of information for both. But because the scouting ends right after the draft, make a scouting for the international guys. So now you can scout all year. It's not a feature that you only use for half of your sim season. And then you're able to go out there and get some international guys, add them to your league. Obviously, the 16 years, maybe they're all 18-year-olds. Fine, I get it. Add that to it. But that ad just lets teams add more. And I get it's a tough balance because you only have 93 guys on your roster in these games where you have way more in real life. And there has to be restraints on how many good prospects you can have, because it'd be crazy if you have 90 guys all with B or more potential. But I think by toning down the potentials of the draft guys and toning down the potentials here, by the time you're done doing both things, you still have about the same potential guys on the team. But I think that's a really, really big feature that they should add. Another one, this is kind of a revamped feature / a new feature, and this is a change to managers and coaches. Now, the revamped part is just make them easier to sign. And I feel like if a coach's contract runs out and you're trying to find them again because they won 2 World Series, it makes no sense to go get a new one. You're scrolling forever and you have no clue. What was this guy's name? Get rid of the ratings boost for coaches. Make them affect morale, I think, more than that. The morale used to be a pretty big feature in the game where it affected ratings. They've kind of gone away from that, but I think you should add that. There's a reason the coaches are called managers, not head coaches. You have to manage a team. You have to do a lot to a team. And managing not only means game, but personalities. You have guys who are with each other for 180 days in a row, basically. You have to manage personalities. You have stars, you have glue guys, you have all these things that make certain teams in real life very fun. Like the Mets this past year. The gay Mets, and then Grimace saved them. And having stuff like that, I'm sure it's going to be very hard to emulate that in the game. But be able to have, a glue guy that maybe he has a quirk that says, hey, all morale hits that a team takes throughout the season is decreased by 3 or something. So if a guy's pissed off that he's not called up because you have that veteran in the locker room where he's not playing a lot, yeah, he might get 5 down to his overall ratings because he's mad, which would be cool to add more decisions in the game. Because you have that glue guy, it's only a 2 hit instead of a 5 hit. Also, personality types and badges. I think this could be great. They have something similar to this in both 2K and Out of the Park Baseball. Merge them together. Offer small boosts with players and coaches who align with their views up. And then also slight negatives when they do not align with their views. There are guys who need to be nurtured. There are guys who just like to be told straight up how it is. There are guys who, internationally, like we hear all the time, locker rooms are usually divided in half. International, like Dominican and Hispanic players, and then all the American guys. And usually they want 1 or 2 guys to be the bridge between that gap. Have that. You don't have a bridge? Well, all your Dominicans and all your Puerto Ricans and all of your Venezuelans fucking hate all your guys from Pennsylvania. Having that just adds more roster building. You can do some fun stuff with that. Especially if, in this game, there's budgets and you can't just go out and get good players all the time. So having good marginal players that have positive effects, that could be really, really fun. Managers have certain traits that interact with players, kind of like the personality badges in 2K. Maybe like a guy like Alex Cora, right? He's from Puerto Rico. All the Puerto Rican players love Alex Cora. He coached them during the World Baseball Classic a couple of years ago. Adding that would be really fun. Giving a +2 boost for a guy who's international or from a certain country or from a certain area of the United States because the coach is really good there. I think that would really be good. And the most important thing we can do here is the catcher-pitcher battery. I think personal catchers are something that happens all the time. As a Red Sox fan, we saw Sandy Leone catch for Chris Sale. We saw David Ross catch for John Lester. And those guys weren't the best catchers on the roster ever. They worked best with their aces. So all the time you would have a guy come in who maybe, they just have a chemistry together. And they pitch really well together. And it's a really good battery mate those two have. So you go out there and you go, all right, I'll sacrifice having the best catcher for the day because my pitcher gets a +2 boost in things because he's catching with this particular guy. And how important are your 90 overall catcher versus your 81 1 overall catcher on the bench or your 78 overall catcher on the bench who gives that boost to your pitcher. Maybe your star catcher has negative boost with like 3 of your pitchers. Are you going to keep that guy? Like, are you going to keep the pitchers? Like, how do you build the team from there? Offers just so much things. And then also mentors. And it's kind of grouped into here. Adds value to veterans and younger, older guys who maybe not be as good in the game. But, just like in 2K, add mentorships and all of that. Last thing before I forget, I kind of forgot until right now. Good thing I caught it because this is a big one. This can go either in the new features or the revamped features, but separating position players and pitchers. And here's what I mean by that. Pitchers get a lot of money, even though they're not that great. I mean, how many times have we seen this offseason where a guy who's like probably a 76 in the game and probably is like what he would be overall in real life, but he gets like an $18 million a year contract. I'm able to sign aces for like $14 million a year in this game, unless they're like true blue studs. The money has to be a little bit different with the contracts. I think the position players are pretty good, but they're still like, unless it's like if you're a superstar, you get superstar money, and then if you're not, you don't. Where there's like a middle ground, and I don't think the game does too well with the middle ground. In the middle ground, either the players are too good to be getting middle ground money. That just adds to it. Like a starter, you can, like a 78 overall starter can probably fetch you like $9 million a year, which, okay, maybe that makes sense. Maybe in the real life it's closer to 12 or 13, but fine. But then like an 85 overall starter, which in the game is like your number 2 or 3, that only fishes you like 12 out of pocket, where in real life that's like a $20 million guy. Move that around. I mean, pitchers get more money because the value of the position is so high. Reflect that in the game. Also reflect injuries in the game better between those two. We never see a pitcher blow his arm out. We also have a thing in the game where if like I tear my Achilles or my ACL a week before the season ends, and that's a whole year injury, they all go away on the off season. Make them carry over. Let them carry over. You have guys who have arm injuries in out of the park baseball. You have setbacks and guys who miss more time than expected or less time than expected. Add that into the game as well. The contract discrepancy and the injury discrepancy. I'd like to see more minor injuries for guys, maybe like a 1 week on the IL stint. Too often, I don't really have to make tough roster choices and add guys to the 40 prematurely because, my first baseman's gone for like 2 weeks to a month. I don't want everyone dying, but I think the injuries could be a little tuned up. Not in severity, but in frequency. We do see guys like, he needs like 3 days to rest. He needs this. That should be a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more on like the 1 week IL stints, but not. And then also like I don't see too many. I see a lot of like 1 to 2 month injuries, which is annoying, but not the end of the world. Where we don't really see too many season-ending injuries, which not like I want 90 of those, but I think having a separate slider for each, because I think these two positions are totally different. Looping them together, the contracts are all looped together overall wise, the injuries are all looped together. Separating those, count that as a new feature, count that as a revamp, however you will. And that'll be my final thought. Well, thank you for getting through this, what could be close to an hour-long video, most likely. I hope you enjoyed it. I really love this game, as you can tell. I put a lot of effort into this. I sent this to a couple of my friends, or one of my friends at Therios on YouTube. Go check him out. I try to shout him out as much as possible. He gave me some feedback on what he likes. He plays the game as well, not really for content that much, but just for personal use. I love this game. This is what I want to do YouTube because of. This is what I do all the time. This is kind of my favorite thing to do is play MLB The Show. I'm giving you guys content. I want this to be the best it possibly can. Again, let me know in the comments section below, what are some of the things that I said that you were like, yes, I 100% want that in the game. That sounds so fun. What are some things that I might not have said that you thought of? They say, hey, I really want this in the game. Drop your top 3 things you want in the game, whether I said them already or they're new to you and new to me. And also make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Again, Red Sox franchise coming in March this season. Go check out my Colorado Rockies franchise. Whether you haven't seen it before or if you've started watching it and kind of fell behind, go catch up right now. It's going to be fun. I think we're just, probably when this video comes out, we're just about to start season 8. So I like to go long in these franchises. So thank you so much for supporting us here on Tisbury 33 Games. Check a couple of those links in the bio, my social medias, my other YouTube channel, or for my sports broadcasting. Darius' channel will be down there as well. Go poke around. We appreciate you taking your time, and we'll see you next time here at Tisbury 33 Games.